Hello to my all CBSE and ICSE board students. Today I am going to give you the basic concept about structure of a flower. There are four structure: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynosium. So before discussing structure, first of all I am going to give you the basic concept about receptacle. So student, here we can see this small length, and this portion is called pedicel, and above the pedicel we can see one swollen portion, and this swollen portion is called thalamus, and pedicel and thalamus together form receptacle. So receptacle is the stalk of a flower or flower stem. So after that, first part is calyx. Calyx contains sepals, and sepals are set of tiny leaf-like structure which are green in color, and in a flower we can see 4 or 5 sepals. And the function of sepal is to the protect of a flower at the bud stage. After sepal, the second part of a flower is called corolla, and corolla contain petal, and all petals are together called corolla, and they are bright in color and they spread sweet fragrance, and due to bright color and sweet fragrance, insects are attracted towards the flower, and by this process they help the flower in pollination. Then we are coming to third part, androecium. Actually, androecium is the male part of a flower, and androecium contains stamen. Stamen has two parts, anther and filament. Student, just look at this portion. Here we can see one slender stalk, and this slender stalk is the part of androecium, and this part is called filament. And on the tip of a filament we can see one swollen base, and this swollen base is called anther. So in anther we can get yellow dust like particles, and that dust like particles are called pollen grains, and in pollen grains we can see male gamete. So in this flower we can see 6 stamen, and all the stamen collectively called androecium. So the fourth part of a flower is gynosium. Gynosium is also known as carpels or pistils. So gynosium has 3 parts: stigma, style and ovary. So student, just look at this portion. So pistils is the centrally located at the flower, and each pistil has 3 parts: stigma, style and ovary. So stigma is the sticky and swollen tip of a flower, and style connect the stigma with ovary, and ovary is the swollen base of pistils, and in ovary we can see ovules. So next I am going to discuss about pollination. So what is pollination? Actually, when this anther matures, they split, and after splitting up, pollen grains are free. That means male gamete transfer from anther to stigma, and this process of transfer is called pollination, and pollination can take place by wind, insects or water. So there are 2 types of pollination: self pollination and cross pollination. So what is self pollination and what is cross pollination? Self pollination: when the pollen grains from anther to one flower fall on the stigma of the same flower or another flower present on the same plant, then that process will be called self pollination. And we can see self pollination commonly in pea plants. Actually, in this picture, just I am going to give you the explanation. So when the pollen grains from the anther of a flower transfer to the stigma of a flower or transfer to the stigma of another flower of same plant, then that process will be called self pollination. Next, cross pollination. So what is cross pollination? When the pollen grains from the anther of one flower are transferred to the stigma of another flower present on a different plant of the same kind, then that process will be called cross pollination. So in cross pollination, the male gamete transfer from anther to a stigma of another flower of a same plant. Actually, in cross pollination, the plant will be same, but the flowers, no, actually plant will be different and flower will be another. Then that process will be called cross pollination, and cross pollination occurs in most flowering plants.